Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our third installment of our public meeting about reopening. Once again, my name is Dan Erstig. I'm the Director of HR. To my right is
Bob Tillman, I'm the president of the school board.
And Kirk Reinhardt, Superintendent, Saugerty Central School District. Once again, I want to reiterate what Dan is saying. I want to thank everybody. This is our third meeting, our 13th overall meeting, counting our reopening task force. I want to thank everybody for their help, their support, the emails, the great suggestions we've gotten from parents and community members, and just overall the support for everybody during a very challenging time. I'm just appreciative of the fact that the conversations continually go back to how do we best serve the needs of our students. That's why we're here. So once again, I want to thank everybody for their support and their input, and hopefully we can answer as many questions as we can tonight. The ones we don't have the answers to, we will continually add to our FAQ on our website. And when we finish up today, tomorrow, we will post our hybrid model. We'll extract that from our larger document. We will also post the tracing and testing protocols that we got from the Ulster County Department of Health. And in that, we'll also add some of the protocols that are unique to Saugerty. So all of that will be on our website by the end of the day tomorrow. The nice thing about all of these documents, they are living documents. So we're going to continually work this entire school year to make sure we're continually meeting the needs of all of our students and staff, both academically, social, emotionally, and safety-wise. So thank you very much.
So with that, if you do have any questions, you can type them right in the chat and we will read them aloud. Will there be an orientation for those students starting junior high?
So thank you very much. I've been in conversations with Ginger Vale. She's a principal of the middle school. She's working on a couple different combinations, a virtual orientation, parent meeting. She's also looking at the logistics of small orientations, bringing in very small groups of students and parents. So she's working on that. And as that information is up, we'll make sure that gets posted on our website and our Facebook site.
What is the schedule for the half-day synchronous days? How many hours straight will kids need to be live in front of their screens?
For the elementary, that's going to be different based on the feedback we received from parents and the elementary principals and teachers. Their schedule is going to be unique, and a couple of the parents had asked for almost like a template for the week. So the elementary principals are working on that. They will not be straight in front of the computer. We were actually having that conversation today about a morning meeting, maybe a small math lesson. So they're not going to be in front of the screen all day, but parents had asked for somewhat of a schedule so they can plan out for the week. For the high school, on Mondays and Thursday mornings, they will be their periods 1, 2, 3, and 4 in their duration. Afternoons on Tuesdays and Fridays, periods 5, 6, 7, 8. We thought that was very important based on the content, as well as we want to make sure that our students are used to that traditional schedule, especially when we come back to in-person.
What is happening with our pre-K classrooms?
I'm not the structure-wise or the scheduling. Right now, they will be virtual. If we are virtual, we did find out that we do have a reduction in state aid for our UPK program. So our business official has reached out. We will have that conversation with our UPK provider and what that's going to look like, and any changes or anything parents need to know, that information will get on our website.
I see there is an in-person training planned for Google Classroom. However, what about those single parents that cannot come in person? So our Google Classroom training is being put on by our PTAs. There was enough demand to have one on the first and second. We can definitely reach out to them to see if there's any possibility of having a remote session as well. But we do realize that part of the beginning of first couple days of school is going to be acclimating students to Google Classrooms. And possibly inviting parents to kind of sit in with their child so that they get a feel for it as well. Will seniors get to meet with counselors for guidance for college?
So that's going to look different. We're not sure to start the year how much of that is going to be virtual. Guidance counselors are back in the buildings this week, Dan.
Yes, today.
And they're going to start setting those meetings up. A parent had also asked us this morning to get information out about college night and FAFSA. So depending on whether or not they're in person or if they have to be a Google Meet, but our guidance counselors are definitely preparing for that. And like I said, we'll figure out what that FAFSA night will look like if we're not back in person.
Will there be written work for elementary school?
Yes, there will. That was brought up last week as well. We don't want everything to be on the computer, especially for the younger grades where they're still learning penmanship and writing their numbers. We are looking at what that schedule will look like as far as getting materials out to parents. We're looking at maybe where we're dropping the food off, maybe having deliveries, maybe having a rotation. But we definitely want to make sure that there will be written work. And so we do know that we will be planning how to get those materials out to the families.
My son is a senior this year and is choosing to stay remote. When will we find out how this will work at both the high school and BOCES?
So as far as the high school, we put the letter on the website if you're choosing. Right now, we're asking for a commitment through the end of the first quarter, which is November. BOCES is also, it looks like they're going to start the year remote. If that changes, I'm sure that as schools go back to in-person, they're going to go in person. But we can definitely find out what it's going to look like for a student who chooses remote, if they're still going to be able to get the BOCES hands-on hours.
As this asynchronous learning for the elementary kids, just their homework time on the other half days of the days they're not synchronous?
The asynchronous part can be a video, it can be an activity, it can be an interactive part of the computer. It just will not be synchronous because the teacher will be teaching the other half of the classes, but it can take varying forms. And what has been decided about high school, as of right now, it looks like BOCES is going to start remote. And if that changes, or when we find out that's going to change, we'll make sure that high school students are aware of that.
There's a question in reference to the Chromebook pickup. If you're not able to pick it up, can somebody else pick it up for you? On Sunday, I'm going to be sending an email blast to all those people who registered to pick up a Chromebook. In that, we'll have the pickup document, the signature release. So if you're not able to come, if you could fill that out and then give that to the person who is going to come pick it up, that will be sufficient. Let's see. Will we be getting instructions on how to begin the first few days?
Yes, we're actually working on the package right now. There's some information that is obviously generic, medical health forms, free and reduced lunch platforms. The teachers come in on September 3rd, but any information we can get out to parents earlier is about logging on, about passwords, all of that information. We understand the first couple of days is going to be fluid. My opinion, the most important thing we need to take out of those first 4 days is making sure students are okay, they can log on, what supports do they need, what concerns do the parents have, what equipment they may need, and just make sure we're there to support our families those first couple of days. So that's what's gonna happen. If you're having any issues getting logged on or any issues with equipment, please let us know.
When will we know what days our cohorts will go on? So, go ahead.
Okay, so right now we are looking mathematically, it looks like an A through K and an L through Z split. A through K will be in person when we go to the hybrid model on Monday and Thursday. L through Z will be in person on Thursday and Friday. We do understand we have siblings with different last names, so we're going to balance those out as well. And we may have a situation where a family has to reach out to us. So we will do the best we can to meet with parents based on specific needs. As long as the buses and we can maintain the class size, we should be okay with that.
The next is a general comment. The district should follow all communication with the mailed version as usual. Our next question is Google Classroom working the same as at the end of last year?
Yes, the only difference is we're looking at more consistency. So a lot of the staff had trained and met over the summer. We're looking at making the websites uniform. So when a parent goes in, everything's a lot easier to find. So a couple different teachers had worked on some templates, and I know they're working with our administrative staff to make sure that when students and parents log on, it's a lot easier to find everything and there's more consistency.
How will written work be turned in? Will I need to get a scanner?
No, we're looking at ways of doing pickup if it's hard copy work. I know last year some parents did scan. We're not recommending you buy a scanner if you choose not to. Some parents could take a photo of the work, and we are looking at ways of having pickup. Next
question is, not everyone has access to a printer and buying one isn't even an option at this point with demand. Will this be taken into consideration with assignments, even with those deciding to stay remote?
Yes, we've talked with our staff, and I have the utmost confidence in our staff understanding the fluidity and the fact that we have to be flexible. So when there is hard copies, we understand there's no expectations for parents having to print those out. We will provide those. And so, like we said, some of the work we're looking on different platforms where the students can do the work right on the computer.
Will parents get notification on the progress of their children as far as completing assignments and grades?
Yes, one of our major goals one of the feedback we got from parents in the spring was that communication and that progress monitoring. So we are looking at our platforms and finding a way either through a different platform or through Google for parents to see how their students are doing. Like I said last week, the most important thing going forward is communication. So if you're not getting the information you need, you don't feel like you're being kept in the loop, please reach out to either your child's teacher or your building principal.
My daughter is put on the bus each day by a friend because I have to go to work by 8 in Port Ewan. The friend's last name would be in a different cohort. How would this be addressed? Many working parents rely on other parents for help.
So, we'll look at this case by case basis. Once again, the biggest parameter, obviously for us opening back up is transportation. Once transportation is resolved, the next step is obviously how many students are in the building and are we balancing our classes. Depending on the size of the room, most of our classes are between 12 and 15 when we're using CDC guidelines. So if that's something we need to work on, please reach out, start with your building leader, and then we'll see how the numbers move.
How will high school students get a schedule in the mail?
So last year they were posted on Parent Portal.
Parent portal, and then we provided the first period class and they got their
So
schedule.
we are looking at getting those pushed out, as well as parents had asked for hard copies of passwords and instructions. We're going to try to get as much information that's not identifiable information to a specific student on the website, so it's always there. We're looking to edit more stuff to our parent page, different forms, but there may be stuff that has to be mailed out.
When will we learn which cohort our kids will be in?
So the first cohort, Monday and Thursday, is going to be A through K. Our Tuesday and Friday cohort is going to be L through Z.
What help is out there for children who need in-person instruction, like children with IEPs?
So one of the things we have is all of our staff will be here. We'll also have all of our TAs. One of the most important things we want to make sure we're doing is supporting our students with special needs, also our English language learners and our younger students. So we're going to be using our staff to support our classroom teachers. We had an RTI meeting last week. So, but once again, if you feel like you're not getting that help, please reach out and explain and have us help you with different means of getting that help until we are in person.
When will we find out if hybrid will be the option in October?
Hopefully as soon as possible. I mean, we'll know right away how the rollout goes. Like I said, there's two pieces that are happening simultaneously here. There's the brand new platform for teaching with regards to if we're in-house or home, we know we're going to be online for portions of the school year. And we also have the safety consideration. So we'll know right away how that's going. We'll also have a gauge from the rest of the county. And we'll also get information from the surrounding counties that aren't with us, the surrounding counties. So hopefully right away we can make that decision.
Where can I find the recordings from the previous meetings held, and does it include the question and answers? So our recordings, they take 24 to 48 hours to upload to our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, there's a link on our main page where you can click on to see the meetings. But it does take 24 to 48 hours to get the captions on the bottom of the meeting. Our question and answers can be found on our COVID-19 page. So off of our district homepage at the very top, there is a link for COVID-19 information and resources. If you go there, you can find the question and answers. When we return to in-person learning, will junior high kids switch classes or will the teachers switch?
There'll be a combination of both. I know Ms. Vale is looking at the teaming, so there may be an option where the students don't rotate as much, but some students will rotate middle school classes. There are some accelerated programs, so most students will rotate through the day. We have set up one-way hallways. We may have to stagger our bells, and we are making students to be no congregated, to be no locker use, so the time in the hallway should be brief, and they will be required to wear masks in the hallway.
Is there an option to remote learn for the entire year?
Right now, we're looking at just the first quarter commitment from parents. A lot of that will come from the state as we continue to roll out. Logistically, as we start having more persons in school, the ability to run 2 schools simultaneously will be difficult. We're going to provide all the supports we can. So right now, our main goal is to make that commitment through November.
How will grading work, especially for those staying remote? Will they be required specific times online? Are they penalized for missing specific times online?
So as you can imagine, this year grading is going to count. One of the most important things, is for now that we've been through this, we kind of got the kinks out in March, April, and May, and June. So there will be grading. It'll be our traditional grading. Our staff knows they need to be flexible, but we still have to have deadlines. Our students still have to be prepared to go to college or the workplace. So it's important. Once again, if there's something happening where you're losing Wi-Fi or your child has a difficult time getting the work done during the day for various reasons, the most important thing we can do is to reach out to your child's teacher or the building leader and find out how we can support you so that they can keep their grades up and get their work in.
Will we need to buy the school supplies that were given out at the end of last year?
I'm not sure if a traditional list is going to go out, but
Yeah, so, in reference to this, for right now, I'd recommend kind of keeping it, pretty basic, right? Pens, pencils, paper, maybe crayons, colored pencils for the high school. But we will work to have appropriate lists provided with schedules. Will students with special needs without a formal IEP be in place be carried through this fall?
I'm not sure what the question is. If a child has an IEP and it hasn't been amended, it's in place until another CSE meeting happens. I think the best thing to do would be to contact Ms. Butler, our Director of Special Education. I hope I'm answering that question correctly.
Yeah. When will we be notified of who our child's teacher will be?
We're hoping the week of September 1st.
How should parents submit required health forms?
I guess we can.
So you can either submit them through mail. Buildings are open. We just ask that you call in advance to let them know that you are going to be dropping something off, just so that we are prepared for you, but the buildings are open. If we have siblings with two different last names, do we need to reach out?
No, we, one of the nice things about our student management system, it does go by household. But if you feel there's an issue or we missed somebody, please let us know. But first they're going A through K, L through Z, and then they're going to go by different names in the same household. The advantage of that is the fact that siblings can sit in the same seat.
Has the district investigated a scheduling algorithm to have 7 through 12 teachers rotate math, English, social studies, science to keep students sedentary, especially for such a short amount of time in person?
One of the things we really wanted to make sure was that our schedule didn't rotate too much for parents who have to work or for siblings who have to help other siblings. And we also wanted our schedule to model our in-person schedule for when we come back.
With this, particularly at the high school level, with the variety of classes that can be taken, it's very hard to keep students contained in a certain group. At 7th and 8th grade, it's a little bit easier due to teaming. If a student chooses remote and they do that for the entire year, or will they be required to do it in person at some point?
Right now, we don't have a lot of guidance on that. So we're just going with a commitment to November. And then as we get closer to that date, we'll see what guidance we have from the state.
How much synchronous teaching will take place for elementary students in the fully remote model are we starting with this year?
Yeah, this year. So like I said, we have met with the elementary principals and they've met with some of their staff to look at what is a good amount of time and how they want that day broken up. The last time we did this was parents were concerned about the rotation of the AM, PM. A lot of the elementary teachers wanted that option to have that morning meeting every day. So it's not going to be that much. We're going to look at, it'll probably be different per grade level. But as soon as that schedule is out, we'll get that out to parents because they did want to know what that would look like on a weekly basis.
If no lockers are planned to be used, where will kids store all their belongings, coats, books, supplies, etc.?
So we're looking at a couple of things. You're right. We're not going to use lockers to start the school year. At the elementary, they are looking for a bin that a student would just keep directly under their desk. And they'll be only going in. The advantage of that is when they sanitize the room, that would have a lid on it. For high school students and junior high, they're going to have to carry everything with them.
When a student goes in school for in-person learning, will the bus transportation be the same?
Yes. I mean, that's one of the reasons why we're doing the model that we're doing right now, so that if we ever have to switch from remote to in-person and in-person back to remote, everything stays the same.
Are neck gaiters acceptable face coverings?
I don't know, but I can find out. What's a NetGator? Is that the one?
Yeah, one of the ones you pull up. We'll have to find out about that.
Yeah.
Mixed reviews on those.
I know there's different types of them too, so, okay.
Are methods, platforms, options being actively researched and planning moving forward for options and educational support for children that will remain remote learners even when the school resumes a hybrid plan, i.e. more than one day access with teachers?
So what we're using is, the platform that we have is Google Meets. Google will be using that K-6. The high school will use Google Classroom or Schoology. The high school teachers that asked for that, that's a platform that also allows for assessing and student feedback. They're the two that the district, our teachers did some research as well as our administration on different programs that we think will be effective for the district going into the fall.
How will we know if we are getting Chromebooks? In reference to Chromebooks, we're looking at the number of requests. Right now, it appears as though we can provide one Chromebook to everybody. If the requests go significantly higher, without getting our new shipments of Chromebooks in, we may have to ration Chromebooks, per family. But right now, it looks like everybody will get one. I will send out a confirmation Sunday with instructions about the pickup again. It will be similar to last spring, and it will have the updated parental agreement form with it. If we decide to remain remote for the entire year, is it better to switch to homeschooling now or see where it goes with remote learning?
I think it'd be better to see where it goes and see how your child's doing, and how they're enjoying it, and where we can support you better.
Will occupational therapy be provided in September as it was in March and June?
Our goal is to start that way, but we're also looking at the means of, a couple parents had reached out to us about OTPT being in person and counseling. So we're looking at logistically if that's something we can offer as well.
Are health forms required before school starts, as doctor visits are risky if they are healthy? Can they wait until physically going into classrooms?
That question was asked this morning. We're finding out about that. Another concern was a lot of parents, there's actually a backlog trying to get into the doctor's office. So that question was asked this morning. We'll get an answer to that.
How will gym locker rooms going to work when kids return?
When we first return, that we will not be using the gym lockers.
If we have our own Chromebooks, will our kids be asked to bring them to school when we resume the hybrid plan?
Yes, they can. And we're also setting up a student network. So when the students are in the building, they can log on to we're going to have a guest network set up just for students. So everything they're doing on their Chromebook, they can use their student account.
If they do happen to forget it, we are planning on having a limited supply in the buildings for those students who do forget it or are not able to bring one in. When will the elementary school plan for synchronous learning be released?
We actually, like I said, we met the other day. Dr. Westinghouse, our assistant superintendent of curriculum, has put together a couple drafts. They're going to share that with the building principals. They've had meetings with elementary teachers, and they're going to start with a draft. We're going to see how that goes for the first week or so, get feedback from parents and staff, and keep working to make that better.
If a child is having an issue with a particular subject and needs extra help, how will this be addressed?
So a couple ways. It could be one of the advantages of having Wednesday being a remote day is that does give teachers the flexibility to set up tutoring sessions or Google Classrooms for those students that maybe need some reteach. It's also an opportunity for our teachers who want to do some enrichment. A parent brought up last week the opportunity for Google Meets tutoring, maybe some of the older students. I like that idea. We just have to make sure how we would monitor that because since it would be facilitated through the school, how that has to be done safely.
If we have children with different last names, who specifically decides what cohort they will be in, and when will we be notified of that information for which they will attend?
So like I said, we'll start with A through K, and then we'll start looking at the same names. The most important thing is we want to make sure we have to stay under how many are on the buses, and we have to make sure we can balance our classes in school to maintain social distance. And as soon as we have that information will go out.
Will children have to wear masks at their desks if they're 6 feet apart?
Our expectation right now is that masks are worn all the time, even during instruction. There will be time for mask breaks. And obviously the best way to do a mask break will be to be outside.
Assuming the district moves to a hybrid model in October, can you summarize the planned protocols for returning to school when my child has a fever or other symptoms? What are the protocols to notify parents if a close contact has occurred in school? And what are the exceptions of children not currently showing symptoms when that happens? So
anytime we believe there may be a susceptible case, They will go to our isolation room. At that time, one of our professionals will contact the Department of Health. They will ask us a series of questions. The child's family will be notified. They'll be notified to contact their family physician. At that time, they'll be asked a series of questions to determine, based on their contact, whether or not they believe they should be given a test or not. The Department of Health will then ask us a series of questions to decide who they believe was in close contact, and whether or not we have to quarantine a class, a part of the building, and whether or not people need to go home. So we will follow their direction, and then parents will be notified.
How do we alert the school if our children have a doctor's note not to wear a mask per protocols in place?
So I would contact the building principal, and I'll reach out to Dr. Kapler. She's our PPS director, to find out how we're going to track those notes and make sure the buildings are aware.
Does Saugerties have a district attendance policy? If so, will it be followed or modified?
It does have a district attendance policy. One of the requirements, regardless if we're in a hybrid model, an in-person model, or a remote model, is daily attendance. There's multiple ways we can do that. A Google Meet counts as attendance. Participation counts as attendance. For parents who do not have Wi-Fi or the internet or a device, we're looking at either phone calls home or other ways of proving attendance. So the policy itself is still intact. We actually have an attendance committee that's been working on our policy. But we are going to be flexible, and one of our most important things is to reach out to the families if there's something we need to do to help.
What is the required start and end time for elementary school?
I apologize, I don't have those off the top of my head. I know we have too early and too
Yeah, so the early schools start at 8:45 and go to 2:58. The later schools start at 9:15 and go to 3:28, I believe.
And then within that, the elementary principals and the elementary staff are going to create that remote schedule so parents know when there'll be a live Google Meet and when there'll be activities.
Will children eat in the cafeteria or in classrooms?
So the elementary, the students are going to eat in their cafeteria. There's a lot less need for travel in the elementary. In the high school, we did it mathematically. We can feed 256 students by using the junior high cafeteria, the senior high cafeteria, and part of the junior high gym by having the desks 6 feet apart. So the oldest children will go to the cafeteria to eat.
Just to reiterate, at our elementary level, the idea is to keep kids in the classrooms as much as possible. If a child has a doctor's note not to wear a mask, will any additional safety precautions be taken to those children also in the room?
So if a child doesn't want to wear a mask, we do have shields if that is something the parents may feel more comfortable with. That's why even in the classroom, our goal is that as often as possible to maintain social distancing. The mask will only come off for mask breaks, and in the hallways. Like I said, we're going to have one-way hallways. We're going to have right and left side of the hallways, and the expectation is no congregating in the hall.
When will we receive school and student-specific scheduling information?
The week of September 1st.
Will the teachers be available to the students during all virtual times?
I don't believe all times. I'm sure, like I said, Wednesday is going to be the remote day. So I know teachers are going to have the flexibility to set those Google Meets up to meet with different students for different reasons. Also, when we start the remote model, for instance, the high school, there'll be synchronous periods 1, 2, 3, or 4. They will have opportunities in the afternoon if they can set that up. But also we want to make sure that our staff has the time to collaborate to make sure we're doing the best we can and to enhance our distance learning.
In making the decision to stay remote, are we looking at other schools that have already opened and the spread they may be seeing? I saw a number of colleges already reporting outbreaks.
We're following the data every day. I just read an article just before I came over here about another school in Florida. So obviously, you know, as we get this information, we're looking at it. One of the advantages we have is we do have a very low rate here in Ulster County. The people have done an amazing job of adhering to the social distancing and the mask. But once again, you know, we do follow that information, and we're very lucky. Executive Pat Ryan's done a great job of getting a lot of the information to us that we need.
Will band class still be in session?
Yes, band will be in session. Half the students will be here. It may look different. We may have to use alternate space. If the students are singing, playing an instrument, or in gym, the social distancing is actually 12 feet.
The issue of children adjusting, or more importantly, not adjusting to these new protocols, is this being addressed? What will the plan be for children that are that emotionally break down or seem overwhelmed?
So once again, I agree. And that I believe the first 4 days of school, when we come in here on September 8th, is to slowly get our students used to being students again. We're going to, for a lot of our students, it'll be the first time they saw a lot of people with masks. It's going to be one-way hallways. There's going to be screening. So I think the most important thing is for everybody to just be extremely supportive of our students. To start this school year, for us to be successful, the most important thing when students first start coming back is going to be the social and emotional. And even when we're remote, if you feel like your child is being overwhelmed, our psychologists and our social workers are on staff. And we also have 6 interns from Adelphi that will be offering remote counseling as well. So please, if you feel your child's feeling anxiety or your family, please reach out to us so we can help you.
Will gym classes still be provided?
By law, yes, they'll just look differently based on the fact that we won't have locker rooms. Hopefully we can go outside as much as possible. Also, one of the nice things is part of our physical education and our health curriculum is the social emotional piece. So I have a lot of faith in our physical education and our health teachers to help our students in the social emotional piece as well.
Individual teacher expectations have obviously not been made clear to new students entering 7th grade. When will schedules and teachers' assignments be made available to students? And when will these assigned teachers be available to answer any questions?
So like we said, September 1st, hopefully things will start going out. Ginger Vale, the middle school principal, is working on an orientation. Teachers will be available after September 3rd. And like I said, you know, the biggest thing going forward is communication. We are looking at a platform for parents to reach out directly to teachers, and we're seeing how that can also be tied to Google Classroom.
I just wanted to confirm what I believe was said. At this time, children are expected to wear masks at all times, even during instruction in the classroom.
Yes.
Additionally, are there plans in place to provide further distancing if some children are not wearing masks for whatever reason, especially in halls, etc.?
Well, in the hall, students will have masks if they have a note that they cannot. That's why it's so important for us. We're looking at, do we need to stagger the bells? And the high school and junior high, elementary is a little different because they can move separately when they leave the room. That's why we're looking at one-way hallways, no congregating. Students leave the room, they go directly to their next class.
If a child is absent due to illness, not COVID, or has an appointment or planned trip on a day they are scheduled to be in their cohort at school, can they participate remotely that day so as not to miss work?
Yes, the definition is they have to participate. So once again, you know, reach out to the classroom teacher, reach out to the principal to make sure you're getting the work or how we can support you.
If kids forget their mask, I'm guessing they will be provided?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Is there any further information about potentially moving some sports outside during remote learning, even if not able to have games with other schools?
We have, we're still waiting. We're hoping that off-season participation can start August 24th. We haven't heard about that. That would strictly be outside. We have not heard any confirmation on exact start of the fall season, September 21st. And yeah, obviously the more we can have students outside, the better. We just haven't received any further guidance from the state.
What are the district's specific guidelines for closures? Is there a Saugerties area percent or a number of positive cases that would cause the schools to switch back to remote learning full-time again?
It's not what we've gotten from the Department of Health. It's not based on that. It's the information we give them, and they're going to be tracing clusters. We're also required to let them know of all of our illnesses and our attendances just generically so that they can look and see if they can see something coming that may not be positive test, but maybe a dip in attendance itself.
Will children have recess?
Yes.
Will the high school students still be changing clothes for gym?
Not to start the school year, no.
Is every day still a letter day?
Yes, we still need to keep the letter day going because that's our student management system. So we will go with the A, B, C, all the way up through F. But that will not change the parent rotation. One of the things the parents wanted was when we went to the hybrid model for a Monday to be a Monday. So the 6-day rotation will keep going as far as attendance purposes and specials and labs. But if your child is in cohort 1, your in-person days will be Monday, Thursday. And if you're in cohort 2, your child's in-person days will be Tuesday, Friday.
How long will each period last during in-person instruction?
So elementary will vary. Like I said, our elementary principals and staff are working on that weekly schedule. For high school, it'll be a traditional class period.
What is your plan to provide security oversight to planned outdoor instruction, athletics in the junior, senior high, resource officers rounding the grounds, etc.?
Excellent question. I mean, that's one of the things, in the back of everybody's mind is always safety at the high school level. Some students had gone out during lunch just for recess, not leaving to go buy lunch. Somebody already asked me that, and the answer was no. And I know the elementary students do have recess and do use their grounds. So as we expand outside the building, all our security measures that are in place will continue. And one of the nice advantages we have is we do have cameras and we do have the swipe card. So a faculty member can go out with students and come right back in the nearest door.
How soon will the kids be returning to school for learning?
Well, the earliest right now is October 5th. I'm hoping that if everything goes well and things stay the way they are throughout the county in this part of New York State, that's the biggest thing going forward. And the biggest thing is some people that have already asked me about the procedures. My concern is if we start getting positive cases, we don't want to be in the mode of we're open for a week, we're closed for a week, because then there's no continuity of learning. So that's my biggest concern is if we open, I want to make sure we can stay open because I don't want our students to constantly have to go from one platform to another.
What does recess look like with social distancing?
Just like you said, the students are going to be outside. They need to stay separated, how things are, they can relax and they can play. But once again, it's going to look different because they do have to maintain that social distancing.
As a parent, if I should have a fever, am I expected to keep all my children home from any in-person school? If yes, for how long? Is the answer any different if one of my children have a fever, i.e. do all need to stay home if just one is ill?
I'm going to check on that. I don't feel comfortable answering a medical question.
If a child has a writing lab or reading lab, how will that work?
So I can get that from the elementary principals. I know they were talking about what those specials, those push outs and pull outs will look like. Hopefully it can be set up as a Google Meet, but we will get that information to you.
What is the junior high start and end time? So the junior high start and end time is going to be 7:45 to 2:18. That is the new schedule that we adopted at the end of last year. So 7:45 to 2:18. That is it for now. Will the district adhere to the typical holiday schedule for the year?
Yes, we've adopted our calendar for the year, regardless if we're remote, hybrid, or in person. We have to maintain our academic calendar. We have to maintain our 900 hours for elementary and 990 hours for high school. So we do have to maintain our schedule exactly the way it is as far as the one that was adopted by the board this spring.
Just keep in mind that always that the calendar does identify dates that might have to be give back days or days taken away due to emergencies. Will there be a welcome parade from the elementary teachers to start the school year, similar to how they ended, to brighten the kids with the new schedule?
And is that something that's been done in the past? I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure what that would look like with the parameters, but I can reach out to the elementary principals and see what they have planned for that.
Will we be allowed to have parent-teacher conferences, or will they be virtual regardless of our students, if our students are in school or remote?
So we are looking for ways of staff to have opportunities to meet parents earlier. Once again, the biggest thing is we're still required to meet the 900 hours of instructional time, but we do know for parents, they haven't met the teachers, and also for kindergarten teachers, kindergarten parents, they haven't had a chance to be in the building yet if it's their first child. So we are looking for ways to make those connections. It may start out virtually, but as parameters change, we can have parents in the building, meeting staff. We definitely want to do that. But once again, our main goal is to get students in here first, but if we can start finding ways to safely have parents in the building, we definitely want to do that.
Will the schools continue to try and have extracurricular activities such as student council?
Yes, I'm very fortunate. The board adopted all the extracurricular activities last week. And once we're back, I'm sure the advisors will find out ways for getting students signed up, but we definitely thought it was very important for our students to find ways to build those relations and feel connected back to the school, even if they're remote.
Will the grading system be the 1 through 4 score still, or is it back to normal?
Our grading system will be back to a traditional grading system.
Since teachers are still planning to instruct from school at the junior, senior high, will we still be able to call in to consult with the team about our child rather than consulting with each one?
Is that-
Yes, so there was still, at the junior high level, there will still be the team time, so that you should be able to call in for that. At the high school level, I know oftentimes we had meetings after school, so always reach out to the guidance counselor to facilitate those conversations. Are parents who can encouraged to drive their own children to school? Will children be penalized for tardiness?
Yes, any parent who can drive, even though they will have a seat on the bus. And we do understand that we need to be flexible in the fall, especially if more parents are driving in and they're dropping other siblings off at daycare, they're on their way to work. Once again, open line of communication.
When classes start, everything is remote, correct? Are high school kids doing video lessons for their classes?
There'll be a combination of both. I know a lot of the teachers spend some time in the spring on the flipped classroom. I like that. That's my favorite option right now, especially for the older students. The advantage of the flipped classroom is the fact that the student can watch the video more than once if they need to, or they can go back to it for review. So that's one of the options, and that's an option that I think a lot of the teachers are going to do even when we come back to in-person.
Do you want to explain what a flipped classroom?
Oh, what a flipped class is, I'm sorry, Bob. The teacher videotapes themselves doing the lesson. It's usually between 15 and 20 minutes, and then there's an assignment or an activity attached to it. What's nice about the flipped classroom is when we go to our hybrid model, the days the students are virtual, they can watch the video of the activity, the lesson, or the learning model, and the days they're in class, they can actually be instructed on anything that they're struggling with. So it's a great method, and a lot of teachers are working hard to work on that, especially a lot of them tried it in the spring.
Will drum after-school clubs still be happening in person or remote?
Yes, our goal is for our activities to start.
Will buses be sanitized between high school, run, and elementary?
I believe so, but I can double check. The guidance is it yes?
Yes. Yeah, the buses, just so you know, will also have extra masks on buses, so in case a student does arrive to the bus without a mask, they'll be there. They're to wear their mask on the bus and sit every other seat. For high schoolers, when learning remotely, will my child be on live with teachers for the entire period time?
I'm not sure what you're asking, but the way we set it up is on Mondays, periods 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be live. What the teacher chooses to do during that period, the 40-some minutes, is up to them. It may be a short lesson, it may be an activity, it may be a review session. We definitely know the value of in-person instruction, that ability to get to know your teacher, build those relationships, but it will not be the whole 8-period day.
Will the students be having to get scheduled COVID tests of any kind?
Not that I'm aware of. The only case that would be that if a child went home with one of the symptoms and their family physician made that recommendation, there would be a requirement for them to come back to school.
There will be actual times for the high school kids to log on to classes virtually as if they were in the building? Yes.
Yes.
As we said, Mondays will be periods 1 through 4, they will be live, and then Tuesdays 5 through 8. And then Thursday and Friday, the same thing. If children have a doctor's note not to wear a mask in school, will a copy of that also be forwarded to bus drivers as well so that they are aware? Or does a separate copy need to go to them as well?
So I can't speak for Dr. Capley, but I'm sure that's how that happens. If not, we'll find out. I know, like, for instance, if a student has bee stings or other things like that, we make sure that all adults that may possibly come in contact with that student, but we can find out for you.
Is there any word on sports starting up in the fall?
No, there's not. There's, like I said, I think the biggest indication will be if we're allowed to start off-season workouts August 24th. The first initial date for any possible fall sports is September 21st. We haven't heard if that's a go or not. If that doesn't happen, they're looking at another model of sports running 3 shortened seasons in the spring.
It's hard for a teacher to find a substitute under normal circumstances. Will we have enough subs if a positive case comes up?
That's a good question. I agree.
Yeah, we're going to be surveying our substitutes that we have board approved to see if they are interested in working. So we have a solid count to pull from. Are teachers going to record their live class sessions when we get back to the hybrid learning? If a student misses their class, can they use the recorded class?
If it's a live class with students, it will not be recorded. The lessons that will be recorded will be the ones where if a teacher decides to videotape themselves performing the lesson. If it's a live class like a Google Meet, it's not to be recorded.
Not completely COVID, but related. Is there any consideration being given moving forward to installing air conditioning into all buildings and the classrooms? My kids have already said it's extremely hot in May and June. September, October, classrooms can be stifling.
I got to be honest, no. I mean, just financially, electricity, not something right now we can afford.
Will kids, if quarantined, be responsible for makeup work?
Yes, because it's part of the curriculum, it's part of their grading. It's going to be our job to make sure that the child, that they're either self-quarantined or they're sick for any reason, any type of, legal absence, they have an opportunity to make up the work. And the nice thing about some of our platforms, a lot of the work will already be on the platforms to students for whatever reason they're not in school.
There was mention in previous meetings about the ventilation system. Is there a consideration to purchase HEPA filters?
We are looking at certain filters. It just depends on the system and the difference in which those filters will make. And as you can imagine, some of those are very expensive.
Is remote learning going to extend past first quarter for children not returning in person if is remote learning going to extend past the first quarter for children not returning in person if parents choose to keep them home?
So right now, like I said, we're looking at commitment through November. As we get further guidance from the state, I mean, obviously we want to do everything we can to support our students. And we also have a tremendous staff here. We want to make sure we're balancing our students that are in home, giving them what they need, as well as we start to get more students in school. Our teachers will be teaching their traditional academic load. So we want to make sure we're giving them the time and the ability to be the best teacher they can be.
How does the school determine the difference of a legal absence compared to those not being held against them for not attending the in-person classes?
Legal absences, for instance, if a parent feels either self-quarantine or they feel the child showed symptoms or they shouldn't be in school, that's a legal absence. All we're asking for is communication. Like I said, with a lot of our platforms, the attendance is going to be very easy to show the participation, either through a Google Meet or through Schoology. If a parent does not have that option, we are looking at either phone calls or logs or other ways for parents to show that their child participated.
Will the elementary teachers be doing any kind of outreach to their new students before school starts?
We're looking at that now. The difficulty is the teacher's first day of work is September 3rd. And there is a half a day on September 8th. We do realize that that's a quick turnaround. So that's why that first week, we understand instruction needs to take place. We know instruction will take place, but building those relationships and making sure that our families have made contact with their teachers is just as important.
Will the library be open to students once we return to school?
As of right now, no, with the library. I know that parents had asked about resources. Our librarians have pushed out resources already that they know students are going to use. One of the things about libraries is they're large, especially here at the high school. So it may be a space where we look for a class that may need to expand due to how many students and social distancing.
We talked about some virtual booklets too, right, Dan?
Yeah, we do have resources online where students can access a virtual book and use that as well. So that will be shared. Another question about orientation for 7th grade. Will there be any orientation this year for incoming 7th graders? Will a virtual tour of the junior high be given to the incoming 7th graders?
So Ginger Vale is working on that. She's working on a virtual seventh grade orientation, and we're looking at the possible logistics of bringing freshmen in. I'm not freshmen, sorry, seventh graders.
Once children come back in person, are they going to be allowed to bring birthday treats to share with other kids like usual?
My guess is no, and I hate saying that because I like treats, but we'll get further as we get closer to bringing students back, but I'm gonna have to say off the top of my head before we start, the answer being no.
Yes. Just, in terms of lunch, we are to remind students not to share any lunch materials and belongings in school. Turnaround time from positive case to communication to parents. I have seen that communication hasn't always been open from school to parents without delay.
And I agree, and that's something we're definitely working on. Like I said, I'm going to keep saying it. Communication with your child's teacher and the building principal is the most important thing. So once again, let us know how we can help you.
With things constantly changing when large decisions are made, i.e. going back to school or remaining remote longer, will we be able to have future meetings like this? They have been extremely helpful.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think it's great. I mean, the fact that we had almost 300 on last week, we had 300 at the board meeting the week before. We did one this morning. We had over 100 people. I'm here whenever we want to set them up. We're getting pretty good at this.
We do have our reopening task force that meets Thursdays. We're gonna have another meeting next Thursday, and then we're gonna have an additional one in September. And we do plan on keeping that going to get feedback from everybody to see how we need to make adjustments. If you are interested in joining that, you can please send me an email and I will get you on that list. I am still a little confused with how the BOCES classes will operate, and will there still be transportation for it?
So as of right now, BOCES is looking at what their virtual or remote model will look like. As I get more details, we'll obviously push those down to the high school principal, to the guidance counselors. And if and when BOCES allows students to come in person, we will provide transportation. So if they feel safe and they're up and running in September and our students choose to go, we will get that transportation. We know that, like, I'm sure, the concern is there's so many hands-on hours that BOCES has to have. So that's one of the reasons why I know they want to get up and running very soon.
If a child is sick with a general cold, not COVID, will clearance from a doctor be necessary to return to school? If a child has lingering symptoms after a cold, like a cough that can last for weeks, will they be told to switch to remote learning?
So once again, it's going to depend on the family physician. If there's a suspected case, they will be called by the parent. The parent will call the family physician. They will ask them a series of questions. We as a building will contact the Department of Health. And between those two avenues, we will find out what the school is required to do, and the family will know. We do have a release form, which will be put out to parents for a child to come back to school.
What is the protocol in place for if a student and or staff member test positive for COVID-19 for the remainder of staff and students?
If that does happen, we will know who was already self-quarantined. Part of our protocol when we call the Department of Health is we have to give them the scenario, and then they're going to ask us certain questions. And based on that, they will determine whether or not it was direct or indirect contact, and who we need to notify, and if we need to close a room, if we need to close a hallway or part of a school or the school itself.
With the possibility of losing the first quarter in person, what will happen with science classes that require labs?
So as you know, last spring, the state waived the 1,200 minutes for labs. This year, they've already approved virtual labs, so we can start the year using virtual science labs.
At the end of last year too, our teachers did meet to see which topics and labs and lessons lend themselves to be more in person and which ones tend to allow for remote instruction. Will elementary school nurse office have an excess of clothing if needed, or will our kids need to start bringing in daily change of clothes in case any type of accident happens?
I don't know. I can find out. Do you know the answer to that, Dan?
I do not. At the elementary level, they are looking into getting tubs for students to put their coats, their pencils, pens, and materials in. I'm just wondering if maybe an extra set of clothes can just be sent in and just be left in that tub. But that's just my thoughts right now. Like, we can get an answer for that. Will band class proceed, and how will you maintain social distancing with band? Can parents have a child opt out of band class if they feel it's not safe?
Social distancing, we'll use whatever extra space we have. I can't answer that because I'm not sure what classes, if it's a high school student, what classes they may have already taken, what's their major, what's their sequence. So I think that's probably a better question for a guidance counselor or the building principal.
I have a second grader and a seventh grader. You will try to put them in the same schedule as to be live and virtual?
So right now, the seventh grader, depending on where they'll be in the same cohort when we come back to school, based on the fact that they're siblings. Seventh graders will be live periods 1, 2, 3, and 4 on Monday, live in the afternoons 5, 6, 7, 8 on Tuesday. Second grader, right now, they're looking at a more flexible schedule for elementary. The elementary principals, the elementary staff, and some of the elementary parents did not like the idea of a flip AM, PM. They felt the importance of every single morning, the elementary student have an opportunity for that morning meeting. So there will be some overlap, and there'll be some times when the schedules won't be identical. But when they come to school, they'll be in the same cohort.
How many extra staff, teacher, nurses, monitors, aides, et cetera, are being brought in to address all these extra requirements if we move into in-person?
So right now, there's no additional staffing. We are looking at certain parts of the building, but because of the fact that we will have less students and less traveling, that extra staff will be pushed in to support teachers or hallways. For instance, if we have a TA that doesn't need that TA one day, that TA can support another class. We're also looking at flexing our hours for our maintenance crew because we won't have as many things at night. So we're looking at bringing in our maintenance crew earlier during the day to help with hygiene, cleaning, disinfecting during the school day when students are vacating rooms.
Will hand washing be required, enforced after eating lunch?
Before and after, yes. We're also looking at more hand sanitizers throughout the building. We almost want to kind of make it like subliminal that every time a student sees one, they sanitize their hands.
Will there be a screening process in place for the students and staff? Yeah, so
Yes.
staff every day, when they enter the building, they'll have to have their temperature taken either in the building or at home. They will also have to answer a daily questionnaire similar to the one if you've been to a doctor's office, where it's have you been knowingly exposed to anybody? Have you left New York State? Have you had any symptoms? Students will need to have their temperatures checked on a daily basis. At the elementary schools, we believe it's going to be done every day in person before they enter the building. We're working at the plan for the high school. Students need to be screened with a questionnaire, we believe once every 2 weeks. Some kids learn better in the morning, especially younger kids. In the spring, our schedule was to get up and get our schooling done. I feel consistency is key. They can't just pick a time and keep it consistent. Can't they just pick a time and keep it consistent?
So that was brought up last week, and that's the reason why we're looking at the schedule for the elementary, especially K-6, of having a schedule that does not rotate around the high school for exactly what you just said. The reason for the high school schedule having to go periods 1 through 4 and 5 through 8 was we wanted the students to have the same traditional schedule they would have when they came back. But we also didn't want students to have to be in front of the computer all day.
In keeping family member kids together, does that mean that elementary kids may be attending or be present at the senior high school? This is unclear how this will be happening. So they will not be on the same bus. So they'll be in the same cohort, meaning that they will both physically be in school to get together and home on the same days. But there will still be a morning bus run for the high school and then bus run for the elementary. As parent-teacher meetings will not take place before school begins, can we get email addresses or phone numbers to at least speak to teachers?
Yeah, we'll try to get everything out on the 3rd. Once you have your teacher's name, I believe the faculty is the staff directory online.
Yes, it should be. Everything should be on our website for that. Can record a video on how classroom will look like and post it on your website?
Yes, we're actually looking at that for the elementary schools and the high school, showing students what it's going to look like when they come in, show the classrooms being separated, also showing some of the protocols in the hallways. Yeah, we are working on getting videos made.
Maybe we can get a video of the bus also.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do the buses and
Well, it's gonna be
dismissal.
the buses and how we're gonna be entering the building.
Yep.
Cafeteria procedure at the high school. If my student is remote for the first quarter, will their teacher change once the hybrid plan starts? Will they receive direct instruction more than once a week after October 5th if they are remote for the first quarter?
So there's a possibility that a teacher may change. For instance, if we have a certain amount after October 5th, based on how many students choose to stay out and how many, if we have a faculty member that we could marry up with them. So let's say, for instance, we end up with, I'm just going to throw a number out there, 22 ninth graders in English 9 that choose to stay remote for the second quarter. And we have a teacher who we're able to free that teacher up for one period. That teacher could be those students' point of contact so that they would have more direct instruction and more contact time. Because if we're not able to do that, and we're going to find ways for Google Meets. A lot of the high school teachers are going to do the flipped classroom, but once we go back to the in-person model, the teacher will be teaching their traditional schedule 4 days a week. So it's going to be very difficult to expect them to, teach their 5 and 6 periods and then also do a couple of Google Meets. So if we can find a way to free up teachers based on content to meet up with those students that are staying 100% remote, that's one of our goals.
Since you just touched on temperatures being taken daily, for elementary kids that are being driven in, will they be checked at the cars so that we know if we need to bring them back home with us instead of letting them walk to the door and then having us turn right back around to pick them up if needed? We're still developing these particular plans, so we'll get back to you on that. Are kids able to remain totally remote?
So as of right now, like I said, we're looking for a commitment of November 1st. And if we get guidance on that, and if we can logistically do that and provide sound education to both our students that are in person and remote, we do everything we can to work with families.
What happens if both parents are essential workers and work until 3? How will we be able to go live with the teacher?
So that's a good question. Maybe there's a way we can look at flexing some of our staff to do a traditional parent-teacher conference, but they wouldn't be in person, obviously, but we can look and see how we can do that.
How many kids per elementary classroom?
Depends on the room. Some can hold as many as 15, some 12. It's based on the size of the classroom. The average size of our elementary classes is between 23 and 25, so we'll stay around that parameter.
Are the schedules for 7th graders still mailed by regular mail?
I think this year we're going to do that because of the fact that normally they would go online and then they would be picked up during first period, but that's not going to be able to happen this year. Is that it?
Will the children be held accountable if he or she is not on at the time they are supposed to be on?
No. Once again, communication is going to be the key. If there's a conflict where they can't get on, please let us know so the teachers know what's going on. We want to be able to support you. We understand things are going to happen in terms of Wi-Fi, multiple siblings in the home. We want to do everything we can to support you. If there is a conflict or you're having difficulty with your child getting on, please reach out to us and see what we can do to support you.
Can I decide to keep my students on remote learning closer to October 5th?
Yes.
Just a suggestion, can you have another meeting like this a couple of weeks in order to check in with parents and answer new questions?
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll look at calendars and maybe we'll get some feedback from parents. Maybe I'm thinking like the third Thursday of the month or something like that that's easy to remember. But I think it's a great idea, especially as we continue to go and we kind of work through things. There's going to be things we need to change and maybe some things that are going really well.
Maybe after the first week of school, like to, just get some parent input about how things went.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Mr. Tone was just saying maybe after that first full week, we can have one at night, and we'll always try to have one during the day if we can.
The question is, what is the commitment to 11.1 for remote that you referred to? So in a minute, I will post in the chat the link to the required information to submit the actual request to go remote, so we have it. Do you have a plan in place for kids being dropped off and picked up by parents from school in order to maintain social distancing?
All the buildings are working on what that's going to look like. I was extremely proud of graduation. The maintenance guys and the high school crew, and they did a great job of having all the X's on the ground. So all of those parameters will be in place.
When in person, will students have to wear masks at their desks, or can they have a break if everyone is seated?
So our expectation to start the school year is maintain social distance and mask on. They can be removed during instruction, but our goal is for the students to have their mask on and look for opportunities to be outside for mask breaks.
When will we know who the teachers are and how to get in touch with them?
So hopefully the week of September 1st, and we'll make sure that our staff directory is up to date on the website.
Was a plan set in place for how fire drills, bus drills, et cetera, are going to be able to stay within protocols, 6 feet apart, making sure kids have masks with them, cleaning, et cetera?
So all fire drills, everything has to be maintained as it would for any traditional school year. The good thing about fire drills is the fact that, most fire drills are under a couple minutes, so students will be out of the building quickly. They will be required to wear their mask. It'll be the same as if we're changing periods. There have been suggestions on how we run other drills. For instance, the shelter in place, have the students maintain social distancing, but explain the purpose of the drill. So all those things have to be in place, but yes, we do have to run all our required drills.
Will teachers in elementary be changed based on a commitment to remote?
I'm not sure of the question. Somebody that previously had asked about changing of teachers. Once again, if we have a large portion of staff, of students that stay remote for a long period of time, and we can find a way for a teacher to meet with them so they're getting more in-person instruction, we're going to try and do that. That can't be guaranteed. But I know parents have concern of when we go to the hybrid model of just the one remote day on Wednesday. So if it changes, it's changed just to make sure we can try to get more direct contact.
What will happen to kids and how will it be handled if they are not adhering to the mask or social distancing requirements, i.e. being kids? I hope they will not be penalized as if they are being bad or receive detention. Will detention even be happening?
I'm hoping that things can be handled with conversations. On what I found in my 30+ years in education is that most students, when you explain to them the reason why, I think most people want students back in school. We know the value of students being back in school, both academically, social, emotionally. So, if they want to maintain in school, if you want to go forward, you want sports, all the activities to start, we need to adhere to, wearing the mask. I remember years ago when we stopped with hats in school and then we started with IDs. There's always that little learning curve in the beginning, but it's really important that we have these things in place.
When would masks off for instruction work? Meaning if they are asking a question or something else?
Well, obviously, if it's a speech class or a foreign language class, we understand that, we want students to be able to be heard. We want students to have a voice. But once again, the most important thing is safety.
Just curious, does New York State have a go-to website for teachers and administrators for all 688 school districts to brainstorm and listen to ideas?
I don't know if they have one up and running. They did have a Q&A for a while, and they did do a couple of meetings back in May and June. And that's kind of what formulated the guidance that we got last month.
How are the kids to maintain social distancing in the hallway in the junior and senior high school when switching classes?
So we're looking at one-way hallways. If we need to, we're going to stagger the bells. But once again, students won't be going to their lockers. There'll be less than half the students in the building. So the students just need to not congregate and go to the next class.
Art, music, et cetera, in the elementary, will they be coming to the classroom?
Yes, the goal is for the elementary level for the students not to move as much as possible. There may be opportunities. I know parents are concerned with students staying in the same place all day. So if there are opportunities for that to happen, especially if it's something that can happen outside, we definitely want to take advantage of those opportunities.
For parents of seniors, will there be the traditional information meetings?
We had that question was asked this morning, so we're going to find out about how we can stay safely run college night, FAFSA meeting, all those different things for parents.
Will assemblies still be held?
Right now, we're not planning any, based on the fact that, getting everybody in and out of the auditorium. As far as staff for our required meetings for the beginning of the year, they will be virtual.
If enough students choose to stay home, to stay remote, is there a possibility that other students could go all 4 days?
We are looking into that. Once again, from the directive of the state, as we start reaching capacity, the state would like us to look at students with disabilities, English language learners, low socioeconomic students, and elementary grades. I would like to say yes, but once again, if we do something like that, we have to make sure it's fair and equitable.
Speaking of learning a language, 8th grade will be the first time many children, including my son, will be learning a new language. I feel that will be very difficult remotely. Any thoughts on that?
Well, that's one of the reasons why we went with the remote on Wednesday. Our foreign language teachers did ask for the possibility for them to do Google Meets on that Wednesday because they felt that they needed more one-on-one and more direct contact.
Will snack time be happening outside, or what's that protocol?
I'm not sure. I know that.
So while children
ahead,
are eating, as long as they're socially distanced, they can take their mask off to eat. We do anticipate our elementary kids eating in the classroom, so that would be a time when they can remove their masks.
I feel like the font just keeps getting smaller.
Once younger children start attending again, will show and tell be allowed still?
I hope so. I mean, our goal is as we go forward, once again, we don't want to bring a lot of stuff into the school. We don't want a lot of sharing. I know that's a horrible thing to have to say for younger students. We know that, that's one of the most important things they learn. As we go forward, ways, it may be virtual, it may be a photo, but those things, it's very important for students to feel they have a voice and for students to be able to promote their own identity. So whatever ways we can do to get back to some semblance of normal will make us a lot happier.
How long will remote learning be in place for kids?
So right now, obviously through October 5th, there's going to be a virtual hybrid model, hopefully starting October 5th, depending on other guidance and how things are going here. Right now we're allowing parents to choose 100% remote through November. And as things get closer, we'll see how that goes as far as us being able to support both models.
I just saw the full remote quest form, which currently states August 24th as a due date. Did I hear correctly that we can defer this decision until later because we are beginning the year with all children remote, or is August 24th still the requested date for a decision?
No, if you don't have it in by then, it's just that the better data we have, the better we can do as far as preparing for our students that are going to be 100% remote. If anybody chooses after October 5th, like I said, one of our goals is to try and provide as much direct contact for our students that are 100% remote once we go to the hybrid model. But once again, our staff will be teaching all their periods during the day when the students are in the building.
Is pre-K doing any virtual, or are we waiting for them to go back to school? So their pre-K provider did say in our plan that they submitted to us that they would like to be virtual at least 1 day a week and then provide materials for students on a weekly or biweekly basis. So they have an estimated date they're looking to determine if remote will be extended.
I'm not sure if that.
So we're going to be looking prior to October 5th to see if
Yes.
they expend remote across the district. Where do you get the request form? I'll put that in the chat again.
That's pretty quick, Dan.
Copy and paste.
No, we're going to try to make that decision as soon as possible. Definitely don't want to wait till October 5th. We'll have that first 4 days in school. We're having weekly superintendent meetings. So, and I'll be meeting with the board. That decision will be made as soon as I feel one way or the other is going to be the safest for students.
How does parents sign up for parent portal? So for the parent portal, you're going to want to contact your high school, or not the high school, you're going to contact your building main office. They should be able to provide the documentation there to you to get signed up. We also do have the text blast and email system. We will post how to log on to that. But once again, it's going to be critically important to complete the demographic forms completely when they get sent home, so that we have the right numbers, the right email addresses to make contact, and then also get those numbers onto our text blast and email blast system. Doesn't the remote option always have to be an option?
It does, but my goal is to make sure that whatever options we're running are academically sound for the students that are choosing to be 100% remote and the students that are being in person. That's why that commitment letter, it's not in stone, and obviously it has an option for if something changes where a parent wants your child back in school. We're just using that for planning purposes. Like I said, if we have enough students choosing one model over the other, and we can adjust our staff to support the students that are in school and use additional staff to support our students that are at home, that's our goal.
What's the plan for maintaining safety measures for water fountains?
Water fountains, traditional water fountains, we cannot use. The water fountains have to be ones that are bottle station refillable, and we need one of those per 100 students that are in the building. So the old water fountains, students cannot use.
What changed the remote learning being okay beyond November per 2 meetings prior?
I'm not sure of the question. We just had the commitment letter go through November because that was the first quarter. But that's the reason why we picked that date. And we picked October 5th because it was the 5-week notices.
Can you discuss with us any feedback on this plan from the teachers at this point? Do they feel they are safe under the hybrid model? Do you feel the hybrid model is sustainable?
I'm meeting with the teachers tomorrow. I'm sure teachers, as all parents, have some concerns. We're following the guidelines. I think we're doing everything we can to make the school very safe. We've had summer camps this summer. We have young students that are playing travel sports. I think that it's very important that our students are in school. And I think that there's always goods and the bad, but we just know that I have a lot of concerns with students that are not returning. There's more to school than just the academic piece. Do I feel the hybrid model is sustainable? I think it is. Obviously, as we start the hybrid model, hopefully in October, we'll see what works and what doesn't work. The communication is a big piece. And like I said, I want to continually make sure we're using our staff to the best of our ability to promote the students that are choosing to stay remote and the students that are coming in person. I want to make sure that, whatever parents are choosing, we're providing a strong academic and social-emotional support for all of them.
Can my child stay remote until November?
Definitely, yeah. The form actually, like I said, it's not locked in stone. If you choose to stay till remote to November, that's fine. But if something happens where we're back in person and you want them to come in, that's fine as well. I mean, the key for this school year is to be flexible. It's like attendance, it's like participation. Whatever we can do to support families, please let us know.
COVID numbers may be down, but flu symptoms are the same. I see this getting very complicated with in-person learning.
I agree. So I think that's why the screening is very important. The contact tracing, knowing who your child's with, what classes, reducing the amount of students in the building, the cleaning. I mean, I think the one good thing about a lot of the protocols that we've put in place is the fact that I think it'll also reduce the flu this year because We're doing more hand washing. We're wearing the mask. We're cleaning more regularly throughout the day. Students are being more cognitive of washing their hands and stuff like that. So I think one of the side effects may also hopefully be a lessened flu season this year as well.
On September 8th, my 8th and 10th graders should be at their computers at 7:45 for their first period class through period 4, correct? This is, where can I see this year's Braille schedule so that they know when they should be logged on for each period?
Okay, so actually, September 8th is a Tuesday, so grade 7 through 12 will be live in the afternoon, periods 5, 6, 7, and 8, and we will definitely get that bell schedule out so your child knows the periods when they log in and what time. We want it to be as consistent as possible, so I know it's tough with Monday being a Labor Day, but we want it Tuesday to be a Tuesday for the entire time. You know, we're going through either the in-person model, the hybrid model, or the remote model.
Will this information come out regular mail, email, website?
I know we're definitely going to put stuff on email and website, and we'll see what information needs to be mailed.
How will teachers be reaching out to elementary kids to know how and when to start?
So we'll find out. I know we're looking at a packet. We're looking at information, especially for the students that have never been on the computer before. Some of the other students at least logged on, so they know how to go into Google. They'll know who their teachers are. We are looking for ways to increase that communication that first week of school so everybody's getting on.
How will lunch schedules in the junior, senior high be handled?
So the lunch schedule will be the same. Like I said, we're going to use 3 spaces instead of just the 2. To start the school year, it's going to be grab and go. And we are looking at ways of making sure that the lines move and students are maintaining social distancing while they're grabbing their lunch.
For those families that do choose to continue to be remote or just receive food from a district, the district is going to offer meals. In the fall, though, it's going to be different than it was in the spring. Moving forward, we are going to have signups. Meals will have to be charged to students' accounts as if they were regularly in school. So our cafeteria staff are working on a form where you can actually sign up for the number of meals that you want provided each week. And we are also looking at different locations to distribute those meals to those that do sign up. But this year there will be a cost to them, unlike the spring.
So, you know, once again, that's, you know, another reason why we chose to go all the way out to November with our letter. So as we plan meals, we want to make sure that for the families who need those meals, and then, you know, we'll probably do the same thing for the second quarter, that families stay remote, just to make sure the families that need the meals are getting the meals, and we know how many we have to have on site and how many we have at our different remote sites for parents to pick them up. What are we doing for families
with no internet service?
So what we're doing is we're setting up for students who bring their own device. We are setting up a guest network for students to log on when they are on the campus. We are setting up hotspots outside our building like we did in the spring. We'll put those maps on the website again. And if we are remote for an extended period of time, we are looking at hotspots in the community.
So when will we know the children's schedule? September 1st?
That's a Tuesday, right?
Well, they're going to be mailed out that week.
They're going to be mailed out that week. And then can they see them online yet or no?
Yeah, so when we mail them, we can make them.
When we mail them, they can also be seen online, and that'll be the week of September 1st.
If parents have to come to school to pick children up for any reason, will we be allowed in the buildings, or will the children be brought to the main door to us?
I think it would depend on the reason. My guess is that the best thing and the safest thing would be escorted out to the car. But I think it would be depend on the reason why the child is being picked up. But the least amount of students in the building, and everybody who comes to the building at any time will be screened. And as you've seen on our website, and we can repost it, the new visitor protocols and policies.
And we would ask that as much as possible, please call ahead to make arrangements so that the office knows that you will be there. How do you see the student schedule online? So in order to see the student schedule online, you would have had to have signed up for the parent portal. To do so, you want to reach out to your building main office. Is the parent portal elementary level as well? I believe so, because I can go on and check on my kid's attendance on it,
Okay.
but I will double check to be sure. I know definitely the high school.
Yeah, we are looking at mailing schedules, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are looking at mailing schedules this year.
Just confirming the senior high is remote until further notice.
Yes, as of right now, everything is 100% remote. Our tentative date for the hybrid model to start is October 5th. We will make that decision sooner rather than later. Once again, keep following our website as far as parents who want to choose their children to be 100% remote. I know a lot of parents want their children back in school as well. So we're going to constantly make sure we're balancing the needs of all of our families. And, you know, the biggest thing is, you know, I want to keep going back to it, but if you have any concerns about anything, please reach out either to your students, your child's teacher, the building principal, our PPS director, anything we can do to help our families through this school year.
How can I get parent portal access if I don't have an in-person witness to sign the form? So for parent portal, when we did it at the high school, you had to show your driver's license. I will put together the step-by-step way to do that, and I will share that with everybody via an email blast.
No matter what. Yeah, if a parent chooses to be remote, they will start with their same schedule with their students, because since everybody is going to be remote, the goal would be, even when we go to the hybrid model, to stay with those classroom teachers that you were assigned for the teacher of record. The only time a change would happen is if it would allow us to use our staff to better support students that are choosing remote, to make sure we can get more direct contact. The students that are coming in the building will get direct contact 2 days a week and some direct contact on Wednesday. Once we go back to some in-person model, parents that are choosing their children to stay 100% remote, that could be decreased. That's why we're looking if we can free up staff for those students that are 100% remote so they can get more direct contact.
Are there any traditional senior events still happening?
Nothing has been planned, but nothing has been canceled.
Does the remote also include BOCES?
As of it does right now, but I know BOCES is working on a schedule to bring students in because, you know, the hands-on hours. As we get information from BOCES about what programs will be in person, we'll make sure guidance knows and families know.
Will Riccardi still have the community learning, or will they go back to one teacher for all subjects?
No, they're gonna work with a teacher specializing in a specific content. We think, especially this year, with the fact that we want to make sure that we identify any gaps or regression the students may have had. Plus, we're looking at, this will help us to increase our consistency between all 4 elementary schools.
To piggyback off the student pickup question, if the students are brought to the door car, how will the safety measures still going to be put in place to sign in, out, and show license to ensure the child is going with the correct person? We are still going to have door greeters. We're still going to use the Raptor system as it would before. As you know, in many of those buildings, those people are right by the door so that they can verify the ID. Is this the last of the 3 required Q&A meetings?
Yes, it is, but parents had asked for us to continue on. So I think that we'll figure out, maybe we'll figure out, I'm thinking board meetings are Tuesdays, so maybe we're looking at Thursdays. Mr. Tobin had suggested maybe after the first full week of school. I definitely think these are a great idea, especially somebody earlier had said there's so much information that's constantly changing. Parents may want to switch from remote back to hybrid, and maybe later on in the year go hybrid back to remote. So I think the more we have these meetings so the parents can ask those questions about both models and also help us make both models as strong as possible for our students. So I definitely would like to see these continue.
But just always remember that you don't necessarily have to wait for the next meeting
Yes.
to ask a question. You can send us an email. You can ask the building principal, myself, Mr. Reinhardt, anybody in Saugerties. And if we can't get you the answer, we'll point you to hopefully somebody that can. So please always feel free to reach out. So another question about parent portal. I will get all the information together and I will send it in an email to everybody, all the specific stuff that would need to have happen for that. So if students get in trouble when they go back in person and would usually cause them to go to the principal's office, are the principals planning on cleaning their office in between each visit, or will there be different protocols put in place for that situation?
That's a good question. We'll find out. I mean, we want things cleaned as often as possible. And the advantage is we have the hand sanitizers, but we want to limit traffic in all buildings. So the hope would be if there's a situation where, a student needs to meet with an adult, it can be done at varying locations. That's a really good question. Thank you.
Yeah. For students that will be going to, say, OT, PT, or speech, after their time is done in that classroom, the space, the high-touch areas will be wiped down and flat surfaces. Just to be clear, with the retirement of Mr. Averill, will Ms. Vale be the high school or junior high school principal? Please advise who the heads of the schools will be.
So Ms. Vale is the principal for the junior high 7th and 8th grade, and Mr. Tim Reed is the principal 9, 10, 11, 12, and we have 2 assistant principals. Lee Maldonado and Stacy Crum are the 2 APs.
So Lee Maldonado will be working with grades 7, 8, 9, and Shannon Crum will be working with 10, 11, and 12.
The cot question we have to check on because somebody else asked us about any type of flat or touch surface. So as far as the sign up, the only reason why we picked November was because of the fact it would get us through the first quarter, and we wanted to kind of have an idea as far as buses, transportation, meals, Chromebooks. At any time, a parent can choose either direction. So if you choose to stay remote and all of a sudden you would like your child to come back and try in person, that seat will be in the class and on the bus. If your child is in person and for whatever reason you decide to choose to go remote, you have that option as well. Once again, just communicate with us so we know what's going on. Is it an anxiety thing? Is it a medical thing? Do you need academic supports? We understand it's going to be fluid this academic school year. We just want to make sure that the people that need to know are made available so we can support your child.
How will gym classes be handled in the junior, senior high school?
So we do have the gyms reserved. Hopefully when the weather permitting, our students are going to be going outside. They will not be changing and they have to maintain social distancing. And if they're exercising and breathing heavy, the social distancing is actually 12 feet. What do you think?
All right, so with that, we'd like to thank everybody for joining us over the course of these last 3 meetings. As we said, we're going to continue meetings in the future, so please keep a lookout for those texts and email blasts, and we'll post everything on our website. We can't thank you enough for your involvement in your child's lives and education. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much.